Well, welcome into Instant Reaction, day 3 of the NFL Draft, which means rounds 4 through 7 are now in the books. We are brought to you by Sony. Bill Brooks alongside with me. I am Casey Vallier. Bill, we're going to dive into everything, but I'm going to do a quick synopsis of kind of what happened here in day 3. The Colts entered with 4 picks. They had a pick in every round, 4, 5, 6, 7. Early in round 4, they made a trade with the Rams, which essentially gave them an additional 6th-round pick. They swapped fourths. They took that 4th-round pick, turned it into Jalen Travis, who was a tackle out of Iowa State. In the 5th round, they took a running back, DJ Giddens, out of Kansas State. Then in the 6th round, they doubled up. They had 2 picks, back-to-back, 189 and 190 overall. They took quarterback Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame, defensive tackle Tim Smith out of Alabama, and then they rounded out the draft with Hunter Wohler, who is a safety out of Wisconsin, who's going to be kind of sliding in and playing, sounds like a multiple of positions, but linebacker for the Colts. So those are the 4 selections the Colts made in day 3. We're not going to dive into all of them just because I think it's a good idea to do a big recap of everything, but we will start with what we saw today. And one of the things that's polarizing because of the position is at quarterback. The Colts selected a quarterback in Riley Leonard, began his career at Duke, went to Notre Dame. We knew we were going to have a quarterback competition between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, and now it looks like you're going to have a little bit more of a competition at who's going to be that 3rd quarterback on the roster between Jason Bean and Riley Leonard.
Yeah, I think you always want to have competition. Doesn't matter if it's set for the 1st or 2nd spot or the 3rd or 4th spot. You want to have competition throughout your roster. Guys pushing one another to be better, to make sure that, hey, you're getting the best out of these guys. And when it comes time to play games, they'll be ready to play and give the best out there in the football field. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys go about it. Each of them have something special that they could do out there in the football field. So it should be good competition at the quarterback position.
And one of the things that I got to learn by doing a little bit of research on Riley Leonard, he was kind of polarizing because he was outside of what Daniel Jones did at Duke. There really hasn't been another quarterback that you've really heard from that school, but you know, he was that. I know late in that 23 season, Duke was a top 20 team. He had that foot or ankle injury that kind of knocked him out. Then he transfers to Notre Dame. But I didn't realize all the connections that he had. So there's a lot of Colts connections, but then also as an athlete, pretty impressive. So Colts connections, he trains with Phillip Rivers. So, you know, there's the Shane Steichen, the Phillip Rivers tie, which is also pretty cool. But then as I mentioned with Daniel Jones, he and Daniel Jones, 2 former Duke quarterbacks. But while he was at Duke, this is impressive. I was shocked by this. Coach K, legendary coach who was at Duke, asked Riley Leonard if he could play 2 sports, if he could play basketball alongside. Now, the head coach on the football side of things said, no, my quarterback is not going to play basketball. But that just tells you the athlete this guy was. I know in high school he was a 2-sport athlete, very elite. But, I mean, if Coach K is knocking on your door saying, hey, you want to come and play 10 to 15 minutes with the Blue Devils, that's pretty impressive right there.
That is pretty impressive. You have to think one of the elite college basketball schools in the country, their head coach is coming and ask you, do you want to play basketball for us? And basically he's saying that, you know what, he can get some minutes on the floor as far as playing basketball for Duke. So that just shows how good of an athlete he is.
Yeah.
But not just how good of an athlete he is, but how he processes things. Because if he's able to do that on the basketball court, play basketball at that high of a level, it shows how he can process things so he can carry that over to the football side of things. So it shows that, you know what, he's a guy that if you give him a lot on his plate, he probably can handle it, he can process it, and that only helps you out there in the football field to not only play and to be able to play at a high level, but also to be a leader out there, to lead other guys in regards to what they need to do on the football field. So give the young man credit, very talented young man, mobile. He gives people problems because he's so mobile in the pocket, so hard to tackle him. So, you know what, it should be a good competition in training camp to see what he does out there and when he gets to training camp.
Now, one of the other positions they addressed here on day 3 was at running back. We know what the Colts have in Jonathan Taylor. But Trey Sermon's not on this roster here heading into 2025. You've got Tyler Goodson. They brought in Khalil Herbert as a free agent, but it was also we have mentioned it a couple times this week already, that talking with players, with some of these big wigs, if you will, at the NFL Combine, some of them had 20 to 30 draftable grades on running back. So the depth at that position, you knew it was an area that would probably be tapped into. The Colts do that in round 5 when they get Kansas State running back DJ Giddens. This guy's pretty impressive. He is second in school history all-time in yards per attempt at 5.97 yards per carry.
That's a lot.
Third in career rushing yards, over 3,000 rushing yards, and he's just one of 4 players in school history to have multiple 1,000-yard rushing seasons. So definitely DJ Giddens is a guy who really put his foot down at Kansas State, one of the best running backs in the history there. What does he add to this room? Because we know what Jonathan Taylor is, but you're always looking, because of the position, injuries happen. You got to have somebody who's ready to tote the rock.
Yeah, you always want someone that can tote the rock and definitely step in if someone gets hurt. Hopefully no one gets hurt, but if someone does get hurt, you want someone to step in. And DJ, he did that in Kansas, in regards to running the ball, running the rock. His last 2 seasons in Kansas, he had over 1,000 yards rushing, so he can tote the rock. And he also can catch the ball in the backfield.
Yes.
He caught the ball in the backfield, and I think that's something special for running backs. Is if you can catch the ball in the backfield, it just makes it easier for your offense to do different things without changing personnel a lot. So having a back out there that can not only run but also catch the ball will be very big. Now, I know in his career at Kansas, he had a little issue with his hand, with the blocking as far as picking up blitzes and things like that. So, but he's gotten over that. He's healthy now, so he is a back that can play 3 downs if you need it. So definitely on 3rd down, put him in there. But he'll play 3 downs if maybe give him the blow to JT, or if unfortunately JT is not there, and also with Khalil stepping in as well. So another position where it should be a good battle, and see how that plays out as far as playing time for those 2 guys, I would say, because JT is going to, he's going to play and get the ball.
Exactly. Now, in closing on day 3 of the draft, these last selections were essentially what we had talked about. We knew that they were going to build in the trenches, offensive and defensive line, and this staff has drafted linebacker at an incredible clip, and those are the positions they went. They went offensive tackle, they went defensive tackle, and then they drafted a safety who's going to kind of shift into that linebacker spot. No surprise there at all.
No surprise. They want to get some people there that can add some depth, and definitely some guys that if there is a injury, especially on the offensive defensive line, you want to have depth. You just want guys have depth. So, you have Jalen Travis, that's an offensive tackle that's played both left and right tackle.
Right, yeah.
So he's
a mammoth of a man, too. He's a big guy.
He's a big man.
6'8",
340. Yeah, he's a big fella. So, can play both left or right tackle, so that's good. And, if he is playing, Gonzalez can play tackle or guard.
Right.
So, you have that kind of flexibility with guys you can use there. So that's very important to have him. And, so when you have that, then you have Tim Smith, defensive tackle, big guy, also to give a blow to the guys up front with Grove and Buck. So, as you said yesterday, Case, we but we thought that they would go with these positions.
Yep.
Defensive tackle, offensive tackle, linebacker. So, a lot of guys at linebacker, probably more than likely play some special teams, but that's what you want. These guys come in and they want to be out there. They want to play, so they want to get some playing time. That's one way they can get some playing time and show it out there in the football field.
I mean, you talk about that. You mentioned, Hunter Wohler out of Wisconsin, 7th-round pick. You're probably going to make your hay early on as a special teamer. Well, if you go in that linebacker room and you ask the guy who's wearing the C on his chest,
number 44,
Zaire Franklin was a 7th-round pick who made his start in special teams. So you can make that jump. That's one of the things that's what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
They want a guy that they can take to mold at special teams to just continue to grow. So that's kind of what they're looking for there. Now, all right, before we dive into some other teams in the division, because there was some hay made there, let's do just kind of one little overview of totality of what the Colts did, starting with, the one that they got there in the first round in Tyler Warren, dynamic tight end. We've been talking about this off camera, but the importance of when you have a premium pick, top 15, this is a lottery selection, if you will, getting a dynamic playmaker, and that's exactly what the Colts did in Tyler Warren.
Definitely. That's what you want. You want a dynamic playmaker that's going to make a difference for your team out there in the football field, and Tyler Warren can do that on the football field. You know, once he gets here and gets acclimated to what the Colts want him to do, he's one of those players with the talent to go out there and make plays to help the offense out, not just from a physical talent as far as going out there and being fast and stuff like that, but just being physical as far as out there running the ball, catching the ball, blocking. He can do a little bit of everything.
Shane said it is post-draft thing that, hey, we might even play him on defense.
Yes, exactly. So you never know what can happen. So to have a guy like that is very versatile with Shane, and Shane being able to use him in multiple ways, I think it's only going to be a plus for the offense. So having that type of guy and getting him at the 14th pick, you want him to be dynamic, and this is a guy that can be dynamic. He has the traits to be dynamic on the football field.
One thing that I was interested to see when I dove into these prospects they selected, winning kind of made its way through. If you look at Tyler Warren, Riley Leonard, and then, of course, JT Tuimoloau, they all played in the college football playoff this past year with JT, Riley Leonard meeting in the national championship. And then you can even throw in what happens at Alabama, which is nothing but winning. But, right. I mean, that's what Tim Smith did. He spent 5 years at Alabama, won a national championship as a freshman. So you put all four of those guys, four of your 8 selections have won at elite levels. I mean, the highest of high. How important is that to bring that winning culture into the locker room?
It's very important because, first of all, you talk about the winning culture. That is very important. But to me, it goes to the preparation. In order for those guys to win and be a part of a winning culture, in that culture, they had to teach them how to prepare for games. So when they come in and prepare as far as practicing, and not just on the football field, but in the weight room and in the classroom as well, they bring that type of study habits and work ethic to the practice facility. It can rub off on other people, hopefully. And those guys know how to win, so when they come in the building, they can carry that with them and then hopefully pick up on what the Colts are doing, but also maybe show some other guys this is what's going to take for us to be winners. And then hopefully that is just contagious with everyone in the building and in the locker room, and then hopefully they can go out there and practice hard and practice the right way and get some wins.
Now, as I mentioned, in the AFC South, there were some splashes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it all starts there at number 1, Tennessee Titans on the clock, and they take Cam Ward. We don't know what Cam Ward's going to be, but we saw what Houston was able to do. C.J. Stroud, they bring him in, and all of a sudden they have won back-to-back division titles. So it's definitely going to be something you're going to keep an eye on because, Cam Ward, that can switch really, really quick. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on down there in Nashville.
Definitely. You have to keep an eye there on what they do in Nashville, but you're also going to have to keep an eye on what they do in Houston.
Yeah.
Because Houston, they got some players as well. They got Jaden Higgins, a wide receiver. They got Jalen Noel, another wide receiver. Yeah. And they got an offensive lineman. I'm going to try to pronounce his name.
He's got it.
Ariante Ursay.
There he goes.
So they got one of those guys in regards to replacing Tunsil down there as far as at the tackle position, but they also got some receivers to help C.J. Stroud out there. And then in Jacksonville, they got Travis Hunter. The guy goes both ways, so he can play some receiver. Just think, you got Travis Hunter, and then he's going to be teamed with Brian Thomas as well. Brian Thomas Jr., another wide receiver. So they got some weapons. And it looks like, if you look at that just on paper, the teams in the AFC South did things in the draft to improve their team, to get better. So it should be pretty exciting when all these teams are playing one another in the AFC South and see what happens and what pans out.
I don't claim that I'm an expert. I know you don't claim to be an expert at all, but when you think about the moves that were made in the AFC South, who do you think won the draft, if you will?
Wow. I think a lot of teams did things to help themselves, as I said earlier.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And, we don't know who at the end, but I like what the Colts did. I mean, I really do. I really like what the Colts did. I think there were some things that they wanted to do, some areas they wanted to help themselves, not just in the draft, but just in free agency as well, and the things they did. So I think it's going to bode well for the Colts throughout the year, and hopefully everyone can stay healthy, and we'll see what happens. But I think Tyler Warren It's going to make a big difference in regards to what they do on offense. And a lot's going to depend on also the quarterback position.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's
right.
the quarterback position, not just with the Colts, but, you got Tennessee. They got a young guy, rookie, as you mentioned. So we'll see what happens. We don't know what's going to happen with Lawrence because he ended the season not so well. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. And C.J. Stroud's going to have some new weapons. So we'll see if they can get on the same page. So there's a lot of question marks. So we'll see what happens. And it's going to be an interesting year in 2025 in the AFC South.
No, it really will. And before we say goodbye here, Bill, one of the things that we know is currently going on, we've got the off-season training program is underway for the Colts. We're a week in, and the thing that I love about the draft is so quickly you start to see what these guys are going to bring to the roster. Like I don't speak for all the other professional teams, but I feel like the draft happens and you wait and you wait and you wait and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot they select. This one, it is right now. You're going to be here ready to go. We got rookie minicamp coming up real soon.
Exactly.
So I'm really looking forward to getting these guys in the building and seeing how they can contribute.
Yeah, it's going to be fun and seeing what they can do and, them going out there competing. And, it might not be in pads or anything like that,
right.
but they're still competing out there. And it's going to be interesting to see how they come in and what their mentality is once they get in the building. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see those guys go out and work and prepare and show what they can do.
Well, Bill, I've had a lot of fun this weekend. I really appreciate you being with me. And, we have ad nauseum talked about these draft selections and what it's going to look like. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I like what the Colts have done here over the last 3 days.
Yes, I have to agree with you, Casey.
Well, if you need anything else on this draft class, you can always visit Colts.com. We've got articles galore. We've got videos out there of the arrivals, of everything. It's really, really neat. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can always go and digest at Colts.com. But for Bill Brooks, I'm Casey Vallier. Thank you for spending some time here with us on Instant Reaction, brought to you by Sony.